So the session takeaway I am targeting are the basic Agile concepts, okay, and Scrum overview and the Kanban basics. And we will also have a look at how Scrum project looks in Jira, and some aspects of the Scrum project in Jira software. Okay. These are the things that I hope you will be able to learn, just in case you are not familiar with these things. These are things I hope you would have learned at the end of the session. Okay. The objective of the session is quite simple. I would like to introduce the participants to Agile and Scrum, with the aim of enabling the beginners to learn further. Okay, after this session, with the help of the learning you get from the session, you will be able to, I hope you will be able to learn more on Agile. Okay. Second is especially for the students, I'm sure this learning is going to add value to your resume. Okay, fine. So why Agile? In today's in today's context, almost every company is moving towards Agile. Okay. So even though the Agile Manifesto was released in 2001, the movement to Agile from the conventional project management method was quite slow. I can say in the last 6 to 7 years, it has picked up momentum, and many companies are moving into Agile. Only disadvantage we see is even some companies are even when the project is not suitable for Agile, also they try to use Agile for the projects. So it is it is already popular. So anybody who is getting into the industry, the students, and as the professors are going to teach the students, knowledge of Agile will be a real value add to the resume of students as freshers, as well as this will help the professors to get an idea to learn more and to teach Agile to the students. So this is going to be the content on the Agile introduction. We'll see why Agile came into picture and what is Agile. We'll see Agile execution flow and how to.
Sorry, sir, have you shared your screen? We are not able to see any text.
Seriously? Okay. Were you able to see it in the beginning?
No.
Are you able to see now?
Not yet.
I asked in the beginning if you are able to see the screen. Somebody said yes. Are you able to see it now?
Sir, I think it's starting. Yes, we can see the PowerPoint.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for notifying me of this. Just in case the sharing stops, please inform me. Okay. Thanks for letting me know in the beginning of the session. செஷன் முடிஞ்சதுக்கு அப்புறமா ஸ்க்ரீன் ஷேர் பண்ணான்னு சொல்லியிருந்தா ரொம்ப கஷ்டமா இருந்திருக்கும். ஓகே, எனிவே ரைட். ஸோ let me continue. Yes, and we'll also see how to choose the method for a project, whether it's Agile is suitable or Waterfall is suitable. We'll have a detailed look at product backlog and user story. Okay. Also, we'll see Agile frameworks, list of frameworks, Scrum in particular, Kanban basics. And if time permits, then we will have a look at the practical Agile project implementation, especially on Jira, how the Agile project Scrum board, everything looks. This is going to be the content of today's session. Yes. Okay, why Agile? Okay. It is quite obvious, and everybody knows that before Agile came into picture, we had Waterfall and any other conventional methods for developing the software and managing the software. Okay, so For some time, there was argument or discussion for every project whether it should be executed in the agile way or the waterfall way. As I just mentioned, now most of the companies try to execute a project in the agile way. Okay. Right. So to understand why agile came into picture, it is important to understand the flow in which the waterfall projects were executed, right? So this is well known to everybody that in conventional project management or in waterfall, we had different sequential phases of project execution, right? We had the planning, requirement analysis, feasibility analysis, and contract signing. All these things in the first phase. Okay. And I'm sure there will be some variation from project to project. In general, this was the flow, right? So we can assume that for the first 3 months, all these things: planning, requirement analysis, feasibility analysis, and the signing, contract signing, everything happened, right? And next 6 months, maybe design and implementation, and followed by that for 3 months, testing and deploying into the actual environment. And we don't know, based on how the project was designed and implemented and tested, the maintenance phase can be 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Sometimes it goes on for years also. So the point we need to note here is when the requirement analysis is done and the contract is signed for the project, the customer's role, customer's role ends there temporarily, right? The customer is shut out of the project. After that, the development team takes over, and for the next 9 months, 6 plus 3, 9 months, the customer doesn't get to see the product that is being developed, right? Whether it's a website or an application or a server, the customer doesn't know what is going on for the next 9 months. And at the end of 9 months, when the output is taken to the customer, there are a lot of issues, right? Customer saw something totally different from what he expected. Okay. Or there were too many issues and flaws. So such issues were there. We'll see what kind of issues were there in the upcoming slides. So what is a successful project? Yeah, so PMI, Project Management Institute, it defines a successful project as below. Successful projects are those that meet the business requirements or given by the customers. Okay, these were given by the customers, are delivered and maintained on schedule. It should be on schedule, right? It should be delivered on schedule, and it should be within budget. They would have planned for a budget. It should be within the budget. Deliver the expected business value and return on investment. Customer, when he gave the requirement, he would have had a business value in mind, and he would have planned for a return on investment, correct? So if a project fulfills all these four, then it is considered as a successful project, right? So in context of this definition of successful project, let us have a look at some of the examples, okay, sample project scenarios. So the first project is the requirement description. Very one-line requirement description is a stylish, ergonomic, quality BT headphone and speakers. Okay, that is the requirement given. We have the different types of headphones and Bluetooth speaker. Okay, so let us assume that Sony released the product in it started the product in April 2009. So I'm sure you are aware that there are different specifications or standard for Bluetooth, right? So in April 2009, Bluetooth 3.0 specification was released. Okay. So when Sony started the project, they started on Bluetooth 3.0, and then they developed, and let us say they released it somewhere in December. Maybe for Christmas they had a plan of releasing. In December they released, and in December 2009, Bluetooth 4.0 was released. Okay, so in 4.0, Bluetooth 4.0, the additional features were BLE, which is Bluetooth low energy, which is added for less power consumption. Yeah, and there were some more stability fixes or bug fixes. So in this method, in waterfall method, after they started maybe April, May, June, the customer was not in collaboration with the development team. Most probably they did not take into consideration that an upcoming version is going to be released. Usually in waterfall method they don't take in any uh, change in requirement, right? In the middle of the project, after the contract is signed, they don't accept any change in requirement. So um, at least 90 to 90 percentage, the product that was released by Sony, it will not support Bluetooth 4.0. It will support only Bluetooth 3.0. So in December 2009, if Philips released a Bluetooth speaker or Bluetooth product with Bluetooth 4.0, it's quite obvious that Philips will have an advantage, correct? So just because requirements changes cannot be accepted, customer is shut out, there is a disadvantage here, right? I hope you are able to understand that. And second one is mainly about requirements. Okay, and the requirement description, let us say, is a comfortable and safe swinging experience for kids in the park. In the play park where children play, they want to have a comfortable and safe swinging experience. Okay, so let us see how different people understood this requirement. People who have undergone some agile training, or if you have read through, then many people would have seen this. So this particular requirement, let's see how different people understood it. Okay. This is how the customer explained it. Okay, and this is how the project leader understood it. And the analyst who is designing the project, this is how he designed it based on what he heard, okay, from the customer or the project leader. Okay. And the developers, this is how they develop the project. But the business consultant, as he has to show off everything, this is how he described the project. Okay. And project documentation was almost nil, right? And we see here that the customer was billed as if the product developed was a roller coaster ride, right? So this is how different stakeholders in the project understood the requirements and explained the requirement, right? But if you see the actual product that the customer wanted or the customer had in mind, it is this one. Okay, what the customer really needed is this one. So most of the time there used to be a large gap between how the customer understands the requirement, what kind of product he wants or expects, and how the development company project stakeholders understand the requirements, right? So because the customer is not involved during the development, customer doesn't have any idea about what is being developed, and there is no chance for customer to correct what is being developed, right? Yeah, that was sample project 2. And project 3 is mobile company signed an agreement for 20 Windows mobile based smartphones with Microsoft in 2009. You know that Windows Mobile is a smartphone platform that was by Microsoft, correct? So mobile company, they signed an agreement for 20 models, which might have been for 4 to 5 years, correct? Till 2013-14, they would have had this plan and agreement. But at least 15 were scrapped due to advent of Android. Okay, Android came into picture somewhere in 2009, 10, 11. Okay, so because Android came into the market, at least 15 out of these 20 models that were planned were cancelled or scrapped. So the reason is the technology and market trend changed, but this change could not be accounted for in the waterfall model, because the planning was done with some assumption in mind, and the company could not go on with the go ahead with the plan they had in the initial stage. Right? So based on this projects and the reasons that we saw, these are the problems different companies and customers faced with waterfall. Okay. So if you take the requirements, many times it was misunderstood, it was inaccurate, and it was fixed requirements. It's not evolving requirements, rather it was fixed requirements. If you take the stakeholders were disjoint, and they were in dark, and quite uncertain about what is going on in the project. Right? And the team, if you take the team, in the conventional method, team and the team members were centrally controlled by a project manager, and they were driven by a leader. It was not; they were not self-motivated, and it was not a self-driven team. Take the product and the project output, as we saw. Many times it was, by the time it was released, it was obsolete. Okay, when it was planned, the requirement was there, uh, but when it was released, it was either obsolete or not as expected. Okay, as we saw in the Bluetooth headphone case, it was not as expected because a new Bluetooth version was, and sometimes unstable also. You see, deadline, because of the rework, after the project was developed, customer had to come in and say, this is not what I expected. Many times it was delayed and the product release was postponed. Budget, obviously, because of all these reasons, deadline delayed, and the product was unstable. Because of these reasons, so the budget was obviously overshot. Correct. And the project as a whole, I'm sure it was not up to the definition of the successful project. Right. In all these cases, it was a failure. Either or it was compromised. It was released as a compromised product, or scrapped, as we saw in the Windows Mobile and Android phone case. Okay. So these were the problems that people faced when they used waterfall for their project execution. Fine. So what do we do now? Okay. So we need a new process, correct, or a new way of working. Not exactly a process, a new way of working. So the understanding of requirements should evolve. The requirements should not be fixed in the first phase of the project. Rather, the understanding of the requirement should evolve throughout the project, from the beginning till the end of the project. Okay. And second one is, we should be able to make changes during the project. A customer should be able to see, and he should be able to give us the changes, so that when we are at the end of the project, customer has the product that he expected, not something that is totally different from what he thought. The third one is, customer should be able to see the incremental product. Okay, these are related. Only when the customer is allowed to see the incremental product, let us say if the development goes on for 6 months, every 2 weeks or every month, if the development team shows a demo of the development or the output to the customer, he will be able to give his feedback, and it will be an incremental way of development. Right? So these are the requirement for a new way of working. Correct? Right. So with these requirements in mind, people try to create a new way of working, which is nothing but agile. Okay. So what is agile? Is agile a framework, or is agile a set of tools, or can we say agile is a well-defined process? Okay. So a framework, tools, a process, a well-defined process. Okay. Um, what is your understanding? Can you type in the chat window? What is your understanding? it will be good if we get some replies. Just throw out your answers. There is nothing like a wrong answer or right answer, perfect answer. So just throw out your answer. It can be random, not a problem. Is it a process, framework, or a tool? Okay, some people, one person has typed process and another person framework. Okay, somebody has told type of project management process. That is interesting. Tool, framework. Okay, thanks for the people who have responded. Protocol. Okay, out of syllabus answers are also coming up. Good. Okay, thanks for the people who have given their answers. Yes. So if we ask if Agile is a framework or if it is a tool, set of tools, or if it is a well-defined process, the answer is no. Okay? It's none of these things. So what is Agile? Agile is basically a mindset. It is neither a tool or framework or well-defined process. It is a mindset, because this mindset should be instilled on everybody in the organization. Okay? If it was a framework or if it was a tool, then it applies only to the development team, correct, or the development lead. But from the CEO of the organization till the junior most developer of the company, everybody should have the agile, have this mindset. Okay? Agile is basically a mindset. Okay? And it can also be called as a set of guiding values and principles. Okay? So in this context, the one who said it is a protocol, to some extent it matches, right? It is a set of guiding values and principles, or it is also a protocol. And based on these guiding values and principles, or based on the protocol, we can define the process we want, or we can define the frameworks based on this agile mindset, guiding values and principles or protocols, and that suits different companies, that suits different projects. So please keep in mind that Agile is nothing but set of guiding values and principles. Right. A bit of, I'm just touching upon the history, not exactly the full history, but just a summary. Uh, so 17 representatives from different software development domains met to develop an alternative to traditional or waterfall method, okay, in 2001, for 2 days or 3 days, February 11 to 13. They met in a resort in United States, and they formed what we see here as an Agile Manifesto. Okay. So I said it is a guiding values, correct? And these are the values. This is what they came up as the first draft of Agile. Okay. So let me read it out, because this is the most important part of the Agile. So we are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Through this work, we have come to value these 4 points. Okay. So individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. That is, while there is a value in the items on the right, okay, process and tools, these things, we value the items on the left more. These things are, the underlined ones are valued more in Agile than the ones that were there in the traditional project management or execution methods. Right. So these are the main points. So to be Agile or to follow Agile, you must move the focus from, so what we have on the left is traditional project management or the waterfall method. and the points that we have on the right are agile. Okay, so instead of putting more focus on processes and tools, we should put more focus on people and interactions. Okay, when we say people, it includes everybody: customer, users, CEO of the company, project manager, testing team members, okay, development team members, designers, architects, everybody. Okay, and we know that waterfall method insisted on a comprehensive documentation. Okay, unless there is a very clear and comprehensive, complete documentation, they will not move forward for design and development. Rather, the agile insists on working products. Okay. Uh, we have to show not the documentation, but the working product to the customer. Third one is the waterfall method gave importance to contract negotiation. As I mentioned, in the first phase of the project, when the contract is signed, that is kind of a Bible or Gita. Okay, the development company will not change it till the design phase and development phase and testing phase are completed. They were very rigid in changing what was mentioned, the list of requirements that are agreed upon in the contract that was signed. Okay. But Agile insists on collaborating with customer, not only in the first phase of the project, but throughout the project. Okay, planning phase, design phase, development phase, testing phase, all phases, customer will be interacting with the development company and follow a plan. The waterfall said we have to follow the plan that we already made, okay, in the first phase of the project. But Agile creators or Agile Manifesto creators, they said we have to respond to change that is given by the customer during the project. Okay, not only the beginning of the project, but during the project when we show a demo in every 2 weeks or every month, customer will give us a feedback or he will give a request for change. We have to respond positively to the change. So these are the 4 values given by Agile. Okay. And apart from these 4 values given, or sorry, not apart from, based on these 4 values in Agile Manifesto, they also came up with the 12 principles. Okay. Let us not get detail into these 12 principles now, but because unless we see how Agile works, it will be over the head. We may not be able to understand it. But let me give a couple of examples. Okay. So let us say welcome changing requirements, even late in development. Okay. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. Okay. As I mentioned, this maps to give preference to responding to change, yeah, rather than following a fixed plan. And if you see, business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. See, they say the Agile principles say they have to work together daily. Okay, this may not be practical in the project environment, but as frequently as possible is what they mean. So this maps to collaborating with customers in the Agile Manifesto. So each of these principles maps to one of the requirements in the Agile Manifesto values. Working software is the primary measure of the progress. Okay. It's not like giving a report to the customer out of 100 requirements. The progress is we have completed in waterfall. They might have told, yes, we have completed 20 requirements out of 100 requirements. So what does it tell the customer? Nothing, right? They just say, okay, around 20% of the project is done, right? But they don't get to see the product. But Agile says working software is the primary measure, not the documentation or the progress report based on the documentation. Right? This one is also interesting. Simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done, is essential. So we'll see what this is as we go along. Okay, basically, not we have to, even during the project, after we have listed it in the requirement to be done, if we realize a particular feature is not giving value to the customer, we should have the courage to remove it from the list. Okay, That is what this means. Okay. If we remove all the unwanted things, we will have more time and we'll have more energy to spend on the important features and the must-have features. Right? So that is what this particular principle means. Simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done, is essential for Agile. Fine. The other things we'll see when we have a detailed Agile session, other principles. So the Agile Basics. Okay, so usually how the Agile execution happens, the list of requirements, right? Even in the waterfall method, we used to have a list of requirements, either in a software tool or they used to have it even in a Word document. Or most common thing that was used to create the list of requirements was a Excel sheet, correct? So that list of requirements here, every project needs a list of requirements to work on, correct? That we call it as a product backlog. In most of the Agile frameworks, they call it as a product backlog. It's nothing but a list of requirements. In waterfall, only when we have the complete list of requirements that the development team needs to deliver, we will go into the design and development phase. But it is not the case in Agile. Even when we have 40%, 50% requirements that is given by the customer, we can start the project, and actually we start the project. Okay? Because in the practical world today, most of the customers don't know the 100% requirements for most of the projects. They don't know the 100% of requirements in the initial stage of the project. Okay, it will evolve. Right, so we have a product backlog, and if it is a big project, it is broken up into multiple releases. Okay, release one, and every release from this big list, they will take chunks and put it in every release backlog. Okay, release 1.0 backlog, release 2.0 backlog, release 3.0 backlog. So from this whole chunk, they will take and put it in release backlogs. And every release backlog will be broken up into different iterations. Okay. Iteration 1, iteration 2. So if this has, let us say, 30, and we have 5 iterations, we have planned for 5 iterations to implement this release 1.0 backlog, then we will have 5 iteration backlogs. Okay. So this is a very simple plan they will draft in the beginning. So this is an example. For example, the project is, the entire project is smartphone software development. Okay, where a company is planning to develop a smartphone, and release 1, they say latest Android porting. It is Android based, so latest Android platform they are going to port into the hardware. Okay, release 2 maybe call and data applications. Release 3, the contacts, calendar, all those applications. And release 4, media application like camera application, gallery, photo viewer, or photo editor kind of application. Release N, the last maybe 5, 6, 7 releases. Release N, other parts they will go on listing in this fashion. And if you take call and PIM, personal information management applications, maybe iteration 1 can be a contacts application, iteration 2 can be a calendar app, iteration 3 calculator application, iteration 4 note application, and other, okay, this is 4 and 5 can be other application. So this way they will plan entire project 2 releases, and every release to different iteration. Each iteration can be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Okay, depending on this again depends on the specific Agile framework that they have selected. Okay. Right. So we have seen why Agile came into picture and what is Agile so far. Okay, and we are in the Agile execution method. So if we see a difference between how it was executed in Waterfall and how it is executed in Agile, we see that the Waterfall was a sequential phase development method. Okay, so requirements, design, development, testing, deployment. So once we are at the end of the requirements phase, once we are in design phase, most of the cases we were not able to go back to requirements. Okay, when we start development, very rarely they went back to design. Changing requirement in the development phase was considered as a very big thing. Okay, So this was the method. It is a sequential phases, and we have the final outcome after it is deployed. Whereas in Agile, you can see that we have the first iteration, second iteration, third iteration, and third, fourth, fifth, okay, maybe 10 iterations. And in each iteration, what are we doing? In each iteration, we are doing the detailed evaluation and prioritization of the requirement, detailed requirements, design and analysis, implementation and developer testing, and the QA and acceptance testing, and deployment to the actual environment. Okay. Let us say if a website is developed, a job website is developed, then a login screen or a login module they are developing in one iteration one. That login module is the rough set of requirements is analyzed, and it is designed, whatever the minimal design that is required, that is done only for that particular module, that is developed and tested, and maybe the acceptance testing, if it is applicable, then that is also done. Then that software is deployed on the website and checked if it is working fine or not in iteration one. Okay, only one module, which is a login module. Okay. And again in iteration two, they may take up let us say the job posting. Okay. User should be able to, or a company should be able to post a job requirement in the website, right? They may take that module in iteration two, and for that also everything is done. So requirement analysis, implementation, design, implementation, testing, everything is done for each module in each iteration. This way they continue. Of course, at the end of iteration one, the customer will be shown the output, gives feedback, and according to the feedback, in the further iterations, they will take up the changes. This way, at the end, okay, we have maybe after iteration one or two or three, we have a preliminary outcome, and after some 4-5 iterations, we have a intermediate outcome. Everything is already known to the customer, inspected by the customer. We got the team gets the feedback from the customer, so everything is validated. Right? After every phase, things are validated. So this final outcome here in Agile, the probability is very high that the final outcome is up to the expectation of the customer, right? Whereas here we have only one outcome. Okay, customer was in dark during the development and design and development period. So there is a lot of chance that final outcome is not up to the expectation of the customer, right? Right. Okay, so general agile project flow, as I mentioned, it is a product backlog is there. Okay, and we from the project backlog they have the iteration backlog, and they run the iteration. Okay, this iteration differs from one agile framework to other agile framework, and at the end of each iteration we have potentially shippable product increment. Okay, we don't have the product itself, but the result, as a result of each iteration, we have an increment. Okay, this is iteration output. This is shown to the customer, and the customer gives changes, and maybe the testing team finds some issues. Everything is fed back into the product backlog. They also call this as a feedback loop. Okay. The changes and issues are again introduced into the added to the product backlog. This way, product backlog keeps evolving. In other words, the requirement keeps evolving. It is not fixed, right? Right. So we have seen what agile is, and let us have a relook at the problems that we saw. So requirements, because it was fixed, it was misunderstood, inaccurate. Yeah, it was fixed. In agile case, we see that it evolves. Most probably, we have a higher probability for the requirements to be accurate, okay, or to be corrected or adapted. The requirements will be corrected and adapted because customer is kept involved in the project, right? And the product is developed, not the documentation is shown to the customer. Stakeholders were disjoined. Here we see that customer is involved almost every day, or at least every iteration customer is involved. Team it was centrally controlled. We'll see how the team is self-driven. Yes, as the customer is involved in each iteration, he knows what is the preliminary outcome, what is the intermediate outcome. This problem most likely it will not be there. Okay? It will not be unstable. It will not be not as expected. Okay, it will be as expected most of the cases. Deadline, yeah, we cannot claim that Agile will save a lot of time and all, but uh, it may save time in cases where the final outcome was totally different from what customer expected. Then a lot of rework has to be done in case of waterfall method. Here, that way, the time may be saved. Okay. Budget, yeah, likewise, it's quite obvious. If there is not much rework, if the project is not cancelled or it doesn't become obsolete, then obviously we have some budget benefits also, right? I mean, visible budget benefits also. Right. So most likely the project will be successful, especially where the project has evolving requirements. Right. Yes. So any questions that are blocking your understanding to go further? Otherwise, you can put it in the. You can keep entering the questions in the Google form. Okay. So I'd like to just have a evaluation or a kind of a simple test before we go further. Yes. Can everybody in your smartphone or in your laptop, can you type this kahoot.it? I have put it on the chat. I hope everybody is able to see that. Can you click on this link or type kahoot.it, kahoot.it. At least some of you, when you have opened it, it will be something similar to this. When you are ready, you can put a thumbs up in your chat window or say yes. Great. It's just a online test, which is a little more interesting than the normal test. Some of you might have used in your training sessions. So let us start this. Right. So here on this screen, on my screen, on your Google Meet screen, there is a pin and a pin displayed, right? 3100878. Can you enter the pin in here in game pin field? If you have entered the pin, just say yes. Okay, 3100878. Can you say yes in the chat window? Okay, I am giving you 30 seconds so that everybody can join. I see around 7, 8 have joined. Totally 99 participants. I request everybody to join this. You see, only 24 people are joined. Okay, I am expecting at least 50 people to join. If you are actually attending the session, the session window shows 99 participants or 101 participants. It works both on phone as well as on laptop. So okay, another 10 seconds. I will start. Okay, very good. I see 38 people have joined this test. Let me start. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. So there will be shapes, different shapes. You just need to select one shape. Okay, whatever is corresponding to the right answer that you have to select. Waterfall is adaptive methodology, sequential methodology, both adaptive and sequential, or none of the above. Can you please select? Okay, only 14 people were able to select it. I hope it may be confusion related to how to select. Okay, so we have different shapes. So you have to select a shape that corresponds to the right answer to the question given. Okay, right. So I see that 5 people have answered it correctly. Waterfall is a sequential method, whereas Agile is a adaptive method. Okay, adapts to the requirements, changing requirements. Right. Okay. Point is, this also takes into consideration the whoever answers first will get more points. Okay. So Hariharan N leads the contest at present. Okay, let's go for the next question. Question number 2. Be ready. A successful project, okay, meets customer requirements, is delivered on schedule, is completed within budget, all of the above. 20 seconds. Okay, great. 41 people have answered. I guess you got used to the method. Okay, nice. 28 people out of 41, they have given right answer. Yes, it meets the requirements, delivered on schedule and delivered within budget. Great. Okay, Danica has, she leads the contest with 1,551 points. We have around 10 questions. I'm sure everybody has a chance to come on top, right? Okay, Agile is a framework. Is it true or false? Only 10 seconds. Okay, Agile is not a framework. It is a mindset. It is a set of guiding values and principles, right? I already saw that. Surprising to see only 14 people got that point. Anyway, better luck next time. Okay, Jamil is leading. I guess he selected it very fast. And Eddie is leading. He stands the second place. Next one is again true or false question. 10 seconds to answer. Okay, Agile Manifesto says comprehensive documentation is a must-have for project. Okay, 41 people have answered it. Oh, again, 18, only 18 people have answered it right. So it's very clear that comprehensive documentation is not mandated by Agile, right? They start with the requirement, set of requirements that is available in the project. And then the requirement, as the requirement evolves, they get it from the customer and implement it. Okay, next one. Let us see who leads. Okay, AD leads now. Congratulations, AD. Again, a true or false. In an agile, requirement analysis, design, development, and testing for the entire project is done one after another. Is it sequential? Is it done one after another? Yes or no? True or false? Okay, 20 people got it right. There is a slight improvement in the number of people who are getting the answers right. Let's see who leads now. Still, AD leads with by 300 points. Anita and Sujata, you can catch up. Can go to the first place. Multiple choice question. Meaning of the agile principle: simplicity. The art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. It means don't implement the requirements, do not take any change request from customer, do not implement the features that are of no value to the customer or user. None of the above. Okay, right, it is the third one. Okay, it is which it means we are going to remove the requirements that are going to add no value to the customer. Okay, only those have to be removed, right? So only 8 people got it right. 20 people said none of the above. Okay, I guess you did not have time to read, so you blindly selected the last option. Okay, somebody can beat Eddie. Okay, he's still leading. Priti second, Anita and Danika, Sujata. Okay, only they are in the list. True or false question? We have 2 more questions to go. In Agile, development team interacts and collaborates with customer throughout the project duration. Yes or no? True or false? Customer and development team collaborate throughout the project. Yes, happy to see that. 31 and only 13 got it wrong. 31 got it right. Okay, this means Preeti is giving very tough competition to AD. Okay, good. Anita, Danica, and Vinny Wilson, they are also in the contest. In Agile project execution, customer is not allowed to give changes once the initial requirement agreement is signed. Okay, 27 people got it right. Okay, customer is he is allowed to give changes during the project in Agile. Okay, so we are at the end of the contest, and this is the podium. This is how the podium looks like. Preeti gets the third prize. Anita gets the second prize with, and I hope, I guess it is AD gets the first prize with 5,322 points. Great, congratulations AD, and congratulations to Anita and Preeti. I'm very happy to see that you guys have understood so far, and I'm sure everybody, many others have also understood. It is time matters here in this competition, right? So let's go ahead with the presentation or with the session. Sorry. So far we've covered why Agile came into picture, because of the problems faced by the waterfall method. Not only because of that, but the current requirements of the current world had more problems to be solved. Those problems needed an adaptive and evolving solution rather than the fixed requirement solution. Okay? And we also saw what is Agile. We saw what is, Agile Manifesto values and principles. So general Agile execution flow. Now we are going to see how to choose between Agile and Waterfall. When we have a project, how can we choose between Agile and Waterfall? How do we decide we should follow Agile or we should follow Waterfall? So this is implicit that We don't claim that Agile has to be used for all the projects. That is wrong. There are projects where waterfall is more suitable than Agile. Okay, let's go ahead with the session. Okay, so please have a look at this graph. Best fit projects for Agile versus waterfall. Here the x-axis shows technology, how the project is going to be developed. Okay. And x-axis 0 means known. The technology is known to the development team. Let us say we are going to develop a cloud-based solution or a cloud-based project, and the development team has already worked on the cloud technology extensively. And the high point in the x-axis is unknown. It is a new technology. It's a new programming language. The team is asked to use Swift. Swift is a programming language, right? They are asked to use Swift for the new project, but they never used Swift in the past projects. It is a new project. That is the extreme of the x-axis, and the y-axis shows the requirements. So the 0 of a y-axis is it is clear, 100% clear, and the extreme, the lowest is highest point of y-axis is totally unclear. Okay, totally requirements are totally unclear. So I hope you understood the x-axis and y-axis. X-axis is technology using which the team is going to develop the solution or the project. Y-axis is the requirement both to the customer as well as mainly to the customers as well as to the market or to the development team, whether it is clear or not clear. Okay, when the let us say this is 25%. Okay, when the requirements are very clear to the customer, they are it is not likely to change. They are very clear. This is the list of requirements, and the technology or the programming language, etc. It is very familiar to the development team. We can blindly go for waterfall. Nothing is going to change. Requirements are not going to change, and customer is very clear about the requirement, and development team knows the technology. So now we are not going to gain anything by using Agile here. We can go for waterfall. Second case is here it is around 45-50%. Okay. The requirements are clear. Only 40 to 50% of requirements, 40 to 60% of requirements are clear. Rest are unclear, or it will evolve. Okay, as we customer will look at the product and then he'll give more requirements, or he is doing a market study in the middle of the project. He will get the results of the study. He'll require more requirements. So around 50-60% of the requirement is clear. Rest is unknown. It will evolve. Technology is similar, right? Team has to it knows it has experience of the programming language, but it needs let us say some part of artificial intelligence needs to be included, but team does not have any experience of artificial intelligence till now. Okay. So if this is the case, familiarity of the technology is around 20-30%. Then we can either use waterfall or Agile. Okay, but if the technology is complicated, it is recommended that Agile can be used. It is preferred to waterfall method. Okay. Hope you understand the plot. And let us say the requirements, only 50% or less requirements are known, and the technology is also not very sure. Team is also not very sure about the technology to be used. Around from 50 to 70% or 50 to 100%. In this case, the requirement is going to evolve during the project. The team has to do some experimentation with the development technology. So the best method that is suitable is best suited methodology is Agile, in particular Scrum. We will come to what Scrum is and all. So it's a complex domain. For a simple and complicated domain, mostly waterfall, in some cases agile. When it is a complex domain, it is going to be agile. Okay, and it's totally extreme. Only 20-30% of the requirement is known, and the development team has a technology know-how only 20-30%. Okay. It is a chaotic space. It is highly recommended that agile is used. Okay, and in agile Kanban framework is used, or Kanban method is used. Okay. So using this graph, company or a team can decide what to be chosen for a project execution or a project management, either agile or waterfall. So the same graph I have represented in a different way. So the requirement clarity is less than 30%, or technology expertise is also around 30%. We have more than 50% chance of requirement change. Choice is certainly agile, okay, and so on, as I told. Whereas 75 to 100% of requirement is clear, 75 to 100% of technology is known to the development team. In this case, the chances of requirement changes are also minimum. Better to go for waterfall. The same graph I have represented in a table. Okay, let us have a look at some examples. A phone book contacts application. In a phone, in a smartphone, we have a contacts application, right? For a new smartphone model is new, but the model is going to be launched in 6 months. The UI requirements, functional requirements are given very clearly, okay, and the requirements are not going to change. Even though it is a new smartphone model, the application is a kind of the team has experience in developing application, and the requirements are very well known. The requirements are very well known. They are not going to change much. It's going to be a new development. Requirement clarity, let us say, is 90%, 5 to 10% of chance for changing requirements. So can you type in the chat window what we can use in this case? Is agile more suitable or waterfall more suitable for this contacts application for a smartphone? Can you type in the chat window? So the requirements are not going to change much, and the technology is also known to the development team. So okay, great. So some people have answered waterfall. It is correct. It is going to be waterfall. Second one is, last year team developed an online food delivery system. Okay, something similar to Swiggy or Zomato. Based on customer feedback, address the issues and make enhancements to the application. Okay. So it is going to be ad hoc requests, random requests coming in. We don't know what kind of issues will be coming in. Okay, so requirement is not known in advance. We know what type of issues might come in, but we don't know the actual issues that will be coming. It's kind of a maintenance and enhancement project. Okay, so requirement clarity. Okay, we know the type of requirements, but we don't know exactly what problems will come in or what new requirements might come in. Whereas chances of changes are 30 to 50%. Oh, what can we use in this case? Agile or agile or waterfall? Can you type? It's a maintenance project. Requirement is not exactly clear, and the chances of getting new requirements is high. Okay, great. The more suitable way is agile, correct. And third one is, there is a pandemic outburst like COVID. Develop a dashboard that shows updated every 1 hour status, including new, existing, recovered, and deceased cases. Recently, Tamil Nadu government also implemented a dashboard. Okay, that was well appreciated by the people and other governments also. So it is a totally a new situation. Nobody knows about the pandemic fully. Okay, and we need a dashboard that shows the current situation, and every 1 hour it has to be updated. It's totally a new development. Okay, only 30 to 50% of the requirement is known in advance. everything else has to be studied, and on the go as it is studied, we have to implement the requirements, and the chances of changes is very high, 50 to 70% changes. We do something, we see that we realize it is not working fully, we have to change the approach. Okay, chances of changes are very high in this situation. So what can we use, agile or waterfall in this method? Okay, great. It's quite obvious that it's very dynamic situation, dynamically changing requirements. Initial requirement list is very unclear. Okay, agile is the right choice. And the last one is, in the COVID scenario, develop an online exam solution for a university. Now all the colleges and schools are going for online exams, right? In here, if system was already in place in some of the colleges, it is okay, right? But at least 70-80% of the colleges or schools never had any online exam system. Again, this is a lot of trial and error is involved. We have to take into consideration the connectivity in the rural areas, suburban areas, and urban areas. It's a mixed crowd, right? Mixed set of students we have, power outage, and we need to take into consideration how genuine the students will be. Sometimes students may look at the questions and then say a power went off in my house, and they may try to take the exam later. So all these dynamic requirements are there. So what do you feel? Agile, great. Okay. So agile is going to be the right choice in this case. Okay, fine. So I've given a list of more cases here. Anyway, let us not get more in detailed into this. From the answer that I got, I understand that you have a fair idea about how to choose between agile and waterfall for a new project. Let's move on. Okay, I thought of giving a break, but we are already running short of time, so let's move on to the other sections. So product backlog is one of the important aspects in agile project execution, right? So let us have some detail. Let us have a look at some details of product backlog. As I already told you, product backlog is nothing but an ordered list of requirements. So the keyword here is ordered. Okay, ordered list. It's not a simple list. It's an ordered list. Okay, how it is going to be ordered, we will see later. So in Agile, most of the Agile frameworks, they call requirements. Each of these requirements, they call it as user stories. Okay, each of these is called as user story. And in the traditional method, before software systems came in, they were using a whiteboard. Okay? And each of these post-it stickers had one requirement. Maybe different colors were used to show to whom the requirement was assigned for development, or to show the priority of the requirement. Red means high priority, uh, yellow means average, blue means low priority. So for different representation, they were using different colored post-it papers. So this is nothing but an order list of requirements. This is the entire list for the project. Okay, this is the entire list for the project. Okay, product backlog sample project. If we let us take a sample project here. Again, I am taking a familiar contacts application in Android smartphone. This is the screen. You can see that search contact screen, add a new contact screen, and view contact, edit existing contact. These are the 4 screens that we are considering as a sample project. And the product backlog will look something like this for if we are using Agile framework to one of the Agile frameworks to implement a project. You can say that a user story. This is how a user story looks. As a user, I want to type in the search string so that I can search for the desired contacts. So this corresponds to the search contact. Right? We are typing SUA something, and the corresponding or the contacts that are matching the substring will be displayed in the list. So this is a user story. Second story, as a user, I want to see the list of contacts. For what? So that I can see the ones that match the string I type. Okay. As a user, I want to select a contact in the list for what? So that I can do different operations like call, view, etc. Okay. So this is a user story and so on. For all these screens, they will create a list of requirements or user stories. Okay. And every user story will have a estimation, and the estimation unit here is story points. Okay. And also priority, whether it's a must have one. There are different prioritization techniques. So one of the techniques is, in one of the techniques they will say must have, should have, could have. Maybe when we have a detailed session, we can look at the existing or available prioritization techniques like a Kano model or a Moscow model and other techniques. How we can use the technique to prioritize the product backlog. And we have something called grooming or developing the product backlog to a fine status. Okay, that's what we call as grooming. Is ordering, prioritizing, adding new items, removing unwanted items, etc. to make it enhanced or finer, make it finer. So what type of items can be there, or the user stories, or what type of items can be there in the product backlog? High ordered items are pulled into the sprint. Okay, I said it is an ordered list, right? It's not a simple list, it's an ordered list. So whatever is in the top of the product backlog are in the ready state. It's well understood or well discussed with the customer, agreed upon and well understood by the development team. They can be taken up for implementation. These requirements that are on top of the list, they can be taken up for the implementation. They will be on the high. So this is a one type of requirements that are well groomed. Second is items may change their ordering at any time. Okay. So based on I said every iteration we get feedback from the customer, correct? Based on his feedback, some of the items may go up. Okay. So the order may change anytime. Items may be added at any time based on the feedback or based on a market study. New feature can come into the product backlog. Okay. Items may be split at any time. You see that there are smaller items which are well groomed. Okay, there are other items which are submodule level or big stories. Recommended thing is we have to break it up to the smallest level possible. So the existing items in the product backlog may be broken down or they can be split at any time. Items may be removed at any time, right? They say around 90% of features in Excel sheet are not used by 90% of the users. So there are items during the project development we realize that they will not add any value to the user, so they can be removed at any time. And these are kind of modules or high level stories or modules or submodules, kind of view contact. We have 4 modules, for example. View contact is one module, right? So this represents one module. As we proceed in the project, this will be broken down into smaller pieces or smaller user stories. Okay. Like this is this whatever is in the parts in the bottom of the list, they have coarser or bigger rough granularity, and as we have something called progressive elaboration. As we groom the backlog, we will have more and more items with finer granularity. This is about a product backlog and product backlog grooming, right? So product backlog characteristics should be it is called deep. Okay, D stands for detailed. Okay, every backlog item in the product backlog should be detailed. Also, we should have all the stories that are adding value to the customer should be there in the product backlog. Okay. Should be estimated. As I mentioned, every user story is estimated. 2 points, 3 points, 5 points like that. Okay. Emergent. I told this evolves, changes, okay, reduces or it grows. So it emerges. The product backlog emerges during the course of the project. Next one is prioritized. I told you that the high is the ready, the stories that are in the ready state that can be taken up for implementation. They are on the top of the list. and the ones that need to be groomed, they are in the bottom of the list. They should be prioritized. So keep in mind the deep. These are the characteristics of a product backlog. Right. I said product backlog is one of the important concepts. Also, user story is another important concept in Agile. Okay. So, user story is nothing but a short, simple description of a feature or a requirement, and it is told from the user's perspective. Okay. I already showed some examples here. It can be written like implement edit box. Okay, implement a edit box so that we can type search string. Okay, that is written from a developer's point of view, right? It is recommended very strongly that every user story should be written from the perspective of end user, so that the value from the user story comes out very clearly. Here we say as a user, but it is not necessary that it should be always a user. Yeah, to put it more clearly, we can say as a smartphone user. Okay, and if you have consider a job site, a website, there will be different users, right? As an administrator, okay, or as a company owner, or a job as a job applicant. Okay, so we have to mention it very explicitly here. As a user, I want to do something so that I get this benefit. That is the format. Okay. These are some of the one. Let me say one. As a manager, I want to be able to understand my colleagues' progress, so I can better report our success or failures. Okay. This is a user. This is a format. As a type of user, I want to do some task so that I can achieve some goal. Okay. This is very important. So that part is very important because that shows what is the value we are going to deliver to the user by implementing this particular user story. Okay, by implementing this requirement, what is the value that we are going to deliver to the customer. And also every user story will have acceptance criteria. Okay. Given some context, when some action happens, then this is the expected result. And also we see the summary, or we have the priority and estimate here. This is the example of that template. That was a template. This is the example. Title is track friends location. Some set of friends are going for a cycle picnic. Everybody wants to track others. Some people go in front, some people will lag behind. They want to track friends location. So it is a must have requirement, a 3-story one. As a cyclist, here cyclist is the user. I want to track the location of my friends. This is what he wants to do. Why does he want to track the location? So that he can join them on rides. Okay, if he's lagging behind, he can catch up. If he is going in front, he can wait for his friends. Okay. So acceptance criteria is given that the cyclist wants to ride with the friends. When they check the map view, then show them the location of other cyclists in their social network. So it's very clear that this is from the user's perspective. This is from the developer and tester's perspective. Based on this, this implementation will be taken up for testing by the quality team. So the acceptance criteria is mandatory for each user story. Right. As we had deep the characteristics for product backlog, invest is the characteristics for a user story. Should be every user story should be independent. As much as possible, we should avoid the dependency with other user stories. Should be negotiable, which means we should be able to discuss the story. Valuable, as I mentioned, so that part it shows the value that gives to the user story, gives to the customer. Estimable, 2 points, 3 points should be we should be able to estimate it. As small as possible. I told that the modules, submodules, big stories should be broken down to stories that are as small as possible. Okay. Should be testable. So we should be able to have a acceptance criteria so that quality team member is able to test that implementation and say that it is implemented properly or not. Okay, that is about product backlog and user story. Now we have a product backlog here. Okay, please have a look at this product backlog and type in the chat window uh, what project, for what project this product backlog is prepared. Okay, what is the project that corresponds to this product backlog. So go through quickly go through 2 3, you'll be able to understand. Just type in the chat window what project they are trying to develop. Sorry, sorry. Please type. Just take 10 to 20 seconds. Just go through. So as administrator, I can see list of all members and visitors. I can monitor site visits. As a member, I can update my contact details. As a member, I can share content to social networks. Do we have any answers? Okay, somebody has told administrator. Okay, it's clear that it is a website, right? What kind of website it is? Right, it is a website there, exactly. It's a website. So the project is obviously a website, kind of one type of a content website where people can post their contents and people can give their comments. The administrator can approve the content or delete the content, remove the content, etc. It's a content website. Okay, but maybe a technical content website. Set of people are discussing, let us say, IoT, Internet of Things, and people can post their blogs or they can post their material, post their queries and get answers, etc. Good. Okay. We have another exercise for user story. Look at this screen. This is a mobile application. Okay. What application is it? Can you type in the chat window? What application is this? Yes. It will be great if you respond quickly, because we are already running short of time. Great. Gallery. Correct. Gallery is the right answer. Quite straightforward. So this is a gallery application for a smartphone. Uh, can you write user story, one user story? At least it would be nice if at least 2 3 members participate or respond. It will be great if many people respond. Write a user story in the format that we just saw. Okay, for any feature in a gallery application. Gallery application, we have many features, right? The photos and videos are listed. Okay, and we are able to apply some filters to select some photos from the album. Only album is listed. We can open one album to see all the photos in that album, and we can launch camera from the gallery application. We can share photo or video to other people. So there are so many requirements here. I have already mentioned some 6 7 user stories or requirements in the product backlog. Can you take one user story or one requirement and write a user story in this format? Only this, the top part. You skip the acceptance criteria part. As a user, I want to do something so that I can deliver this value, so that it is useful to me in the one way. So can you write a user story? I will keep this open for 20 seconds. You can type, you can create a user story and put it in the chat window. I hope you are clear about what I'm asking you to do. Please spend some time, 10 seconds to 20 seconds. Quickly create a user story and put it in the chat window. As a user, I want to do this operation so that I can get this benefit. So that I can see this, I can do this operation. Great, I see. Nice. As a user, I want to view the entire pictures so that I shall mark and delete simultaneously. Great. Very nicely put, Saga. As a user, I want to view the entire picture so that I shall mark and delete. So user is clear what operation he wants to do is very clear, and what is the benefit he is going to, why he wants to do it, very clear. As a user, I want to create new album so that I can filter and add my photos. Great. Okay. By Anita and Puvili Magindran. I want to share the images so that my friends can get that image. I want to share. As a user is missing, I guess he took it as took it for granted. As a user, I want to share the image so that that's great. Okay, great user story. Deepika, I want a group of pics of single people so that I can quickly refer. Nice. Thanks for the participation. Very good. Very nice to see people have understood the concept of user story. Okay. Right, let's move forward quickly. Right, now we are moving into Agile framework. So far we have seen the general concepts. Okay, what is Agile and Agile execution flow, and the very important concepts like product backlog and user stories in Agile, as represented generally in Agile. Okay, same things will be used in frameworks that are implemented in Agile. So as I told you that Agile is a set of guiding values and principles. Okay, based on this set of guiding values, many frameworks are created. Each framework suits different set of needs. Okay, or sometimes one framework suits a company or a particular project nature of, for a particular nature of a project, a particular team. Okay, in the same company, if there are 10 teams, 3 teams may be using Scrum, other 4 teams may be using Kanban. Okay, the other 3 teams may be using extreme programming. Okay, different frameworks can be used, but all teams are working on Agile, correct? Right. So what is the best Agile framework? How big a team can Agile support? Can Agile be followed by multiple teams? What is the best Agile framework? Um, does this, I mean, is this question sensible? Can we say yes or no to this question? Okay, I say 3 questions, 3 answers. Yes, no, depends. Okay, yes, no, depends. What is the answer for this? What is the best Agile framework? Can you type on the window? Depends. Okay, Ramya has mentioned depends. Okay. Right answer, exactly. We can never say what is the best Agile framework. We have to ask, as a reply, we have to ask another question. Okay, what is your project? Okay. What is the nature of your company? That is a question we need to ask. Based on the answer we get for these questions only, we can select the framework. Okay, so it depends. How big a team can Agile support? Mm, uh, See, that also depends on the framework. For example, Scrum is applicable to a team. There is a 10, 11 members. A team can use Scrum. Okay. If there are one project cannot be divided further, okay, one project has to be worked on by around 40 members, then entire team cannot use a Scrum. Okay, 40 members cannot be in a Scrum. Okay, we have to go for other methods like safe and all. Can Agile be followed by multiple teams? Yes, Agile can be followed by multiple teams. Frameworks like SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework, they give methods or they recommend methods to align the output by different teams. Fine. So Scrum for planned development projects, okay. Kanban for ad hoc request maintenance projects, SAFe for Agile framework. It's Agile framework for a large organization. Even an organization with SAFe is a agile framework. An organization has 1,000 employees. They can use SAFe. Within SAFe, we will have multiple teams, and each team can use Scrum or Kanban, like that. That way it works. XP is mainly for R&D work, very dynamic requirements. Requirements evolve very frequently. As I mentioned, we have to create a system or a dash that shows a dashboard of for COVID affected people. Okay, every hour there are lakhs of data coming in. So many affected, so many cured, recovered, so many died. Okay, so it's a very totally dynamic system. Almost every day we have to change or inspect the approach and adapt new methods. Right. So extreme programming is used in such scenarios. So we have Scrum, Safe, DSDM, Crystal, XP, Kanban, Lean, FTD, different methods. And each method is suitable for a project of a different nature, for a different situation. Okay, in this, let us have a look at Scrum in detail. Okay, so what is Scrum? Scrum is a framework based on Agile. Sorry, Scrum is a framework based on Agile, using which people can address complex adaptive problems. As we saw in that graph, if the requirement is 30 to 70% clear requirements we have. It's not 100% clear. We have, in the beginning of the project, we have 30 to 70% of the clear requirements. And so it means that the requirements will change. And also when we have a scenario where development team is not very familiar with the technology to be used for implementing the project. In this case, we have to, it falls in the complex space. It has to be solved in an adaptive approach. We have to do something, show it to the customer, and get the feedback, do little differently in the next iteration. Okay, that way we have to work. It's a lightweight agile framework. 3 to 9 members. It is from one organization. We have different agile organizations, right? Scrum.org, Scrum Alliance. Many organizations are there. There will be slight variation. Okay, roughly 10 members will be part of one Scrum team. It's simple to understand. It has very clearly defined roles and ceremonies, so it is simple to understand. But it is quite difficult to master. It needs discipline to master Scrum. As I mentioned, empirical, iterative, and incremental in nature. Empirical means it's try out. We have to try out different methodologies. Trial and error. That is what is meant by empirical method. Iterative, right? I said iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3. It is iterative. Same set of roles and ceremonies is followed in each of the iteration. Same pattern is followed in each iteration. Okay? And incremental. Okay? At the end of 2 iterations, we will have 15% of the project output. At the end of 6, we'll have some 40%. So it is incrementally built. The project is incrementally built. Why do we need Scrum? Why Scrum is used? To address complex and adaptive problems. Why complex and adaptive problems? Because requirements evolve. Only 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% requirements are clear in the beginning. The rest of the requirements will evolve. To deliver highest possible value for this type complex problems, to deliver highest possible value, Scrum can be used. Right, Agile execution, we saw this, right? We saw this already, how smartphone software development is divided into releases and how each release is divided into iteration. Okay. How does it look in Scrum? In Scrum, how do we execute Scrum? By breaking down a large solution into smallest possible tasks. That is, user stories in product backlog. Here in Scrum also we have product backlog, and that product backlog we have to prioritize the user stories or tasks. By iterative development, same pattern is used in all sprints. Deliver value to customers in incremental way. In every iteration, we will be delivering the output to incremental version of the output. Okay, not independent, but incremental version of the output will be shown to the customer. Accommodate changes by constant feedback from the customer. At the end of each iteration, we'll get the feedback and we'll accommodate, put it back in the product backlog. What Scrum, we have some parts in Scrum ceremonies, which are what we do in a sprint. Okay, one important point is here in Scrum, each iteration is called as a sprint. Okay, please have that in mind. In Scrum, each iteration is called as a sprint. Ceremonies are nothing but what we do in a sprint. Roles, who is in charge of doing the ceremonies or doing the tasks in ceremonies. Artifacts, what are the main attributes or what are the main parts in Scrum methodology? Okay, they are ingredients of this one. For example, the sprint increment or the sprint output is one of the artifacts of Scrum. Okay, and indicators. Okay. Some of the reports, they will also be artifacts. Okay, so we saw the general representation of Agile. So this is how it is represented in Scrum. Product backlog is common to many Agile based frameworks. In Scrum, we have the list of requirements as product backlog, and then this may or may not be divided into releases. If it is a very big project like a entire smartphone, then we may have multiple releases. Here what we have is one application, context application development. This is taken up by one Scrum team. In this case, we don't need to go for multiple releases. Okay, so we can directly go for multiple iterations. As I mentioned, the iteration in Scrum is called as a sprint. So in the first sprint, maybe a new contact module is developed. In the second sprint, which is of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, okay. So the Scrum recommends the duration of a sprint should be 2 to 4 weeks. It can be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks. Okay. So with the trial and error, with a lot of experimentation, they come to a conclusion that this gives best output. If we have a iteration duration or a sprint duration as 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, it gives the best output. Sprint 1, new contact. Sprint 2, maybe the team develops the list, contact list. Sprint 3, the search module. Sprint 4, the contact, selecting a contact and editing it. Sprint 5, enhancing or integrating all these modules into one application, enhancing the application, etc. Okay. This is how the initial plan will be made. They will divide the entire project into sprint backlogs for whatever requirement that is available. Okay, and whatever new requirements that come in from the customer, they will accommodate in the further sprints. Okay, this is a overview of how Scrum works. Okay. Here we have the product backlog, and we have somebody called a product owner. One of the roles in Scrum is a product owner, and he has a clear vision of what the team is going to develop. Okay. And he is the interface between the team, the Scrum team, and the customer. He takes the input from all the stakeholders within the organization or out of the organization, and he is the owner of the product backlog. So he creates, as of course, in discussion with the architects, subject matter experts, in discussion with the members available in the development team, he creates the product backlog. Okay, so product backlog is ready, and product owner is the owner of the product backlog. And as I already mentioned, this product backlog is divided into different sprint backlogs. Okay. And first sprint, maybe duration is 2 weeks. They start the first sprint. They don't start the first sprint yet. There is a ceremony called sprint planning. Okay. So from the product backlog, we have to finalize the items to be taken up in sprint one, right? For that, there is a meeting happens. That meeting is called a sprint planning meeting. The objective of this meeting is to select and finalize the tasks that can be done in the sprint one in the next 2 weeks. Okay, and team selects how much and what are the items. So the input of the this one is product backlog. Input of the sprint planning meeting is product backlog, and output of the sprint planning meeting is sprint backlog. Who all participate? Scrum master and the development team is a must. Most of the times, product owner also is part of the sprint planning meeting. Okay, so sprint backlog is ready. Once sprint backlog is ready, and they start the sprint. Okay, so we have seen two ceremonies, one ceremony, sprint planning and product owner. And who is owner of the sprint backlog? The team. Okay, the development team or the Scrum team is the owner of the sprint backlog. Sprint planning meeting and all the ceremonies are conducted by the Scrum master. Okay, all process related things, organizing the meetings, everything is taken care by the Scrum master. And then they start the sprint. They develop all the features selected in the next 2 weeks, maybe 10 days or 12 working days in 2 weeks. The Scrum team implements the items that are taken up for in the sprint backlog. But every day in the morning around 15 minutes, the team meets to discuss the status, also to discuss what is blocking them. Okay, what went well. Everybody in the team says what he or she did the previous day, what he implemented, and what he is planning to implement or do today. Okay, and if there are any impediments or blocks for which he needs the support. Everybody in the Scrum team says this in the Scrum team. So this way, any impediments will be resolved, and the planned work or any clarifications. One guy says, I am not very sure about this requirement, or it has dependency on some other requirement. Okay, it cannot be implemented now. Things like it should not be the case, because I told you that in the product backlog, on top, only the very clear requirement, well understood by the product owner, customer, and the team members, only that are placed in the top of the product backlog. They are taken up during a sprint, right? So requirements should be clear. It's very rare cases people get doubts about requirements, but some dependencies can be unearthed during the sprint execution. Okay, or they need support from architect or database administrator. So things like that, Scrum Master will resolve the impediments. Okay. So daily Scrum meeting every day during the sprint. Okay, 10 days or 12 days, every day during the sprint, daily Scrum meeting will happen. And yeah, devotee once for every story, user story, once acceptance criteria is met, it is included in the let us say the product increment. Okay. So when all these are in or major portion of this sprint backlog items are implemented, we have an increment. Okay, and this increment we have one, let us say at the end of sprint one, we have a new contact module, right? One screen where user can click and he can go to screen with edit boxes and combo boxes to create a new contact. That is that will be the team will show a demo of new contact in the end of first sprint to the customer, or to the internal or the external customer. Okay. That is called as that demo meeting is called as a sprint review. This is where customer or anybody, internal customer or external customer, other stakeholders, they will give the feedback about the increment to the development team or to the product owner. This will be taken and they will be created as a new user stories or new issues in the they'll be added to the product backlog. And then the team meets to check how the sprint was executed, what went well, what did not go so well, and what are the improvement points. Okay. That is what they discuss in sprint retrospective meeting. So there are two meetings. One is sprint review meeting, in which they show a demo to the customer and get the customer feedback so that they can incorporate them in the product backlog. Another meeting, another ceremony, which is sprint retrospective meeting, only the team is present. They analyze, they inspect the entire sprint happenings. What went well, what would have helped more. People may say, okay, I got help from this team, I got help from another developer. We need to automate the unit testing process. All this discussion will happen in the retrospective. Here, what is developed is shown. Here in retrospective meeting, what they discuss is how things happened, how we can improve. That is what is discussed in the retrospective meeting. Okay. So this is what happens in one sprint. Okay. Sprint planning meeting, and the scrum master and the team and product, maybe product owner, will be participating in this. Output is sprint backlog, a list of requirements or items to be implemented. The sprint starts, team takes it up for implementation. Every day they meet to discuss what is happening, okay, or if there are any impediments, it can be resolved. And at the end of the sprint, we have an increment. Okay, as I already mentioned, whatever is implemented should be tested and deployed in the actual environment. Only that can be demoed to the customer. Okay, unlike the waterfall method, whatever is developed in every sprint or every iteration is well tested and deployed. Okay, right. So product owner, scrum master, and the team, they are the they are the that are the roles, scrum roles. Sprint planning meeting and daily scrum meeting, sprint review meeting or demo meeting, sprint retrospective meeting. These four are the ceremonies in in scrum methodology. Okay. So this is repeated: sprint planning and during the sprint daily scrum meeting, sprint review, retrospective. This is for one sprint. This is repeated sprint after sprint. In every sprint, the same pattern is repeated. Also, there is a backlog refinement. This happens once or twice, thrice in every sprint. The product owner will call the team or whoever is required to decide what more to be added in the product backlog, what to be removed from the product backlog, or how to incorporate the feedback that we got from the customer during the last sprint review meeting, etc. Okay. So that's how Scrum works. Um, yes, as I already mentioned, artifacts, product backlog, sprint backlog, and product increment. These are the artifacts of Scrum. Roles: product owner, Scrum Master, and Scrum team. And the ceremonies are sprint planning meeting, daily Scrum meeting, sprint review or demo meeting, sprint retrospective meeting. This is how the traditional Scrum board looked. As I told you before, things like Jira or Rally came into picture. They were using a simple whiteboard. This was a product backlog, and they used to take manually and stick it in each of the. During the Scrum, they will move it to different states. Sprint backlog, this will be one sprint backlog, and in progress, testing, done. Okay, it's a visible board so that anybody, project manager or the team leader or the product owner, they can come and see what is the progress. Okay. So if we are in the end of a 2 week sprint, we are at the end of first week, at least some of the things should be done or in the testing stage, right? So this is one of the highlights in the agile methodology, agile based frameworks. Visibility, progress visibility. Okay, Kanban, I'm not going to cover much, only the very introduction and very basics. Kanban, I told you that we are going to develop a new application, okay, or we are going to develop a new solution. For that, Scrum is suitable. Okay. We have delivered, let us take for example, we have delivered a product or application to the customer. But they have they want to make some enhancements based on new spec. A new specification has come up. Market trend has changed. Okay. So every day we see some new UI, right, for Flipkart or for Swiggy, for other applications in the smartphone or other applications. So some enhancement has to be done, but this will not be a planned one, right? They will say next 6 months we will be giving you whenever we will be giving you enhancement requirements. We'll be giving you whatever stability issues that we find in the market when we use the product in the market. So this will be ad hoc, random request from the customer. For that, Scrum cannot be used because Scrum is a iterative method. Each iteration, at least before 2-3 sprints, we should know what we are going to work on. In this case, it is this is not the case in this scenario, right? We'll get random ad hoc request from the customer. So Kanban is more suitable for that scenario. Okay. So Agile and lean-based method suitable for random ad hoc request for maintenance projects. Okay, when the project is in maintenance phase, one week we'll get one request. Next week we'll get 5 requests. Another next week we'll not get any request. So ad hoc, and in the maintenance phase that will be the style. Okay. Kanban is better for that. To manage tasks and workflows visually. Again, visual factor is there in both Kanban and Scrum. Kanban is from a Japanese. The word is Kanban, which is a billboard. Okay, a board is the highlight in Kanban. So this is pretty much how Kanban board looks. The work inflow, and once it is taken up by the team, it will be in one of these stages: to do stage, in progress stage, testing stage, done stage, etc. And once it is done, it will go to release or production. There is no time box here. What I mean by time box is there is no sprint duration or anything like that. So cycle time and other metrics are used here. As it flows in, team will work on it, and quality team will test it, and they will put it to release or production. It's a flow-based board system with tasks in various stages. Okay, it will be assigned to different people in the team. When to use Kanban, Scrum, new features development, Kanban, production support, deployment, okay, ad hoc requests. And Scrum team has a backlog for at least 2 to 3 sprints. Next 1 month, 1.5 months, the team knows what we are going to work on, because it is a some extent development project, new development project. Whereas in Kanban, there is no backlog, but work is expected. We are expecting work. As it comes in, we address it. Scrum is suitable for matured agile team. Kanban, it is the teams that are starting new in agile, it is better to start with Kanban. In Scrum, plan won't be interrupted for sprint duration. If we run a sprint for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we will not take up any new stories in between. Okay, that point I forgot to mention. In Scrum, once the sprint starts, we will not take up any new item from the product backlog to sprint backlog. Okay. 2 weeks sprint backlog is fixed. Okay. That's not the case in Kanban. As it comes in, every 3 days, every 2 days, we will take up new items. Anytime we will get high priority task, and we will take up, team will take it up and work on it. This is some one list of differences between Scrum and Kanban. Right. So this is still basics is what we have covered. Yeah, as required, as time permits, we can plan for agile workshop. It can be one day or 2 days workshop, where we can actually execute a project using Scrum or Kanban. Okay. So this is what we can agile in detail. We can see agile values and principle, meaning and purpose, backlog prioritization techniques, agile project estimation techniques, user story in detail. Actually, backlog priority, these are Kano model and Moscow models are backlog prioritization techniques. This is a mistake. We can also have a look at agile project estimation techniques, user story in detail. We can see. We can have a look at Scrum in detail. Okay, ceremonies, what are the do's and don'ts, how it happens. We can practically execute the ceremonies, and different people can play roles and responsibilities. And artifacts, practical Scrum execution with sample projects we can do. and on Jira we can, or some other software we can do the project execution. Also Kanban, whatever I have covered is very very basic. Only the introduction, only definition I have given. So Kanban concepts in detail we can see, practical project execution and metrics, especially metrics. Agile metrics we can cover in detail, because using metrics only we can keep measuring the progress and the success of the project using Agile, right? Also we can cover basic things we can cover about other Agile frameworks like extreme programming, safe, different layers in safe, etc. We can cover if we have we can afford 1 or 2 days session. Okay, so let us have a look at the questions. Okay. Already 8:30, exceeded by half an hour already. Okay, I don't think I can cover whatever the other aspects that I had, but let me just show you how a Scrum board looks in. Okay, this is how this is Jira. Okay, one of the project management methods. There are many other things like version 1, rally, etc. Jira is one of the project management, agile project management methods. Sorry, tools or softwares. So this is how backlog looks. So just for sample, I have created 2 stories. Okay, usually it may looks actual one may look something like this. Okay, backlog. So you see that 49 stories or issues are there. They call it as issues, but the different things are there. Stories, tasks are part of backlog. So at present, you can see 49 tickets are there in the product backlog. Backlog is product backlog here. And sprint 2, we are running sprint 2, 6 issues, or sprint 1 is running now. It's active sprint. They have 14 issues. And during the backlog prioritization meeting, they can keep adding what we are going to take up in the next sprint. Okay, this is sprint 2 backlog. Here we have sprint 1 backlog. Okay. This is how it looks. So this is the name of the sprint and story point status. How many are done? How many are yet to be done? How many are in progress? How many are done, etc. So usually we can take here and that we can show it here. The actual one. It's created a sample project and sample board. So we can say if you want to create a new story, you can select what we want to create. I'm selecting story. Summary is something like delete contact. So as a user, I want to delete a contact so that I can save space just for just creating a sample one. Okay, and I have to see acceptance criteria here. Okay, I'll show how acceptance criteria looks in other stories. And we also have other fields, right? Assignee, I can assign it to any of my team members, like Trinity. I can assign it to my team member Trinity, or assign it to me myself. And sprint, I can add it to active sprint too. Okay, it will be displayed, added to active sprint. Story point estimate, I can say I think that I need 3 story points to implement this story, right? So different things can be configured for a user story. Different fields can be configured. So I create it. So whatever I created, as I already mentioned, it is in sprint 2, right? So it is added to sprint 2. So it is sprint 2 is in progress. Whatever is in progress, we will have another view. So everything is in. So I am working on it. Okay, my team. Sorry, I'm working on it, and I am done with this. If I feel I can put it in progress. Okay, and once I feel I am done with it, I can put it to done. In that way, I can see everything will change. Now I can take up a new. So everything is drag and drop friendly, user friendly UI will be provided by this such tools. Right, fine. Either same way from the backlog, I can either assign the field or I can drag and drop from here. So now I see that 2 story points are done and 3 story points are in progress. Right? There are things like epic initiative, etc. That we can, when I say I can create a story or I can create a bug, different things I can create. So once it is sprint duration is done, I can complete the sprint also. It says 1 is completed, 2 are still open. Do you still want to complete it? So just for sake of completing, I am dragging it here. Okay. Keeping 1 incomplete. Okay, complete sprint. I completed, and it will give some reports also. Okay, sprint 3 insights also will for the old ones. We'll also have some reports. So this is how Scrum project is executed in a software like Jira. Right, that's pretty much it. Let me go to the questions. Okay, I got 8 responses. Okay, fine. These two. Can you type your questions? If you have any type questions, please type in the Google form, the link that I provided. Otherwise, you can you can ask me also. You can unmute and ask me also. No problem. So the questions here are. Let me start with the questions already entered. When should we use Agile? We already saw that. This I for sample, I for testing, I added this question. We already saw when for what project we have to use Agile and what project we have to use Waterfall. Is there any limit to story points? Not. There is no limit, but smaller stories are better. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 5 story points are desirable. Okay. How to get into software industry as Scrum manager, as I have no experience in it. Okay, if you are a fresher, you will, if you, let us say, a company which you want to join, it is using Scrum for majority of the projects, you will be a Scrum team developer in the beginning. Okay, whereas if whoever has asked this question, if he already has 5-6 years experience or 5 to 10 years experience, you can complete one of the certifications related to Scrum. For example, there is a Scrum Master certification provided by Scrum Alliance, right? So you can, it is quite easy to complete. If you go through the concepts, it is quite easy to complete. You can approach me anytime if you want help with that. So if you have 5 to 10 years experience, you have a gap in that, then you can certainly complete a certification. There are so many openings for a Scrum Master position, and the ideal experience they look for is 5 to 10 years experience. So I hope I answered the question. I have a gap of 5 years in my career. Can I switch to software in this domain? Certainly, you can switch to this 5 years. I don't. You mentioned 5 years gap. I'm not sure about your total experience. Let us say your total experience is 7 years, 8 years, or 10 years. This is a very good opportunity. It will be a very good opportunity if you complete a couple of certification in Agile, especially as a Scrum Master, certified Scrum Master. CSM is one of the popular certification. There are also now there is also a ASM, Advanced Scrum Master certification. If you complete these 1 or 2 certification, this will give a good opening for you in the industry. Yeah, you can if you specialize yourself in Scrum, you can certainly get an opening. Explain zero sprint and Agile. Okay, not exactly in Agile. It is in Scrum. Zero sprint is see. We say that there is no separate requirement analysis or architecture analysis or design phase in Scrum, right? In Agile. So one team decides to use Scrum, but they have to do some analysis. Okay, but they cannot have any product increment. When I say product increment or a sprint increment, they have to show a demo of that result to the customer, right? So they cannot run a sprint. They need to do some basic analysis. They need to do some basic study, or the team needs to undergo 1 week of training, because some part of the domain or the programming language they want to use for the project is new to them. So they run something called a zero sprint or no feature sprint. They also call it as a no feature sprint. Okay. So they do all these things like analysis, technical analysis, or architecture, very basic or rough architecture or design. They want to go for a training so that they can start working from the next sprint. So that is that sprint, 1 2 weeks or 3 weeks, which is a preparation for the project. That is called as a zero sprint or no feature sprint. Okay. What use Kahoot games are? I'm not able to understand. If you are asking what is the use of the game we played, then it is just for reminding ourselves of the concepts that we learned, and to just as a checkpoint to understand whether we understood the concept or not. I'm sorry if I did not understand the concept well, or the question well. Yes. Any other questions? Okay. Fine then. If you want to ask any other question, you can unmute and ask. Otherwise, I am pretty much done with the session. As I mentioned, for a detailed session like how to practically execute Agile, what is the actual flow that we follow in a software company for Agile project execution, how different levels of project are broken down and executed, how to execute it in software called like Jira. You can have a 1 day or 2 days workshop also if required, if asked by the college. Any other questions? Or if not, it's over to the organizer.
Dear participants, we have had a productive and inspiring time together. I hope you have found the presentation is informative and helpful. On this occasion, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to Mr. Anthony Willett for his presence and excellent presentation to make this today's webinar a grand success. Thank you everyone. We appreciate you being here. Thanks for joining us today. We will see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Professor Sagai Raj, and to all the professors who participated. Thanks for your patient listening.